Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Watch Pals. My name is Chris, and this week we raw dogged hundreds of beavers. But first, I want to introduce you to the rawest dogs on the block. First, I want to welcome is Jordan.
Hello.
Next, I want to welcome Jeff.
Hey.
And last but not least, my favorite, Brian is here. Brian, welcome to the show.
Small dogs stay on the porch, big dogs leave. Thank you.
What do you mean your favorite?
What does that mean?
Because he actually says stuff and you don't yell at me and say, hi, guys.
I don't know. He was talking about raw dog, and I just thought of that Red Dog beer or whatever that was.
Anyway, this week, Jordan's going to be driving our ship. But before we get into that, I want to do another segment of everybody's favorite part of the show. Get to know your pals. I want to know, what was your nickname growing up? Maybe your parents, maybe your friends. And mine, I'm going to start with, mine was Bugman. My dad called me that, one, because I like Spider-Man, and two, because I ran around the house and looked for bugs. Because I didn't like bugs, apparently. I don't remember why. He didn't really explain it. He just said I looked for bugs, and I freaked out about bugs or something. I think it's because we lived next to a house. We lived at a house with a bush that was infected with like termites that got into the house or something. I don't know. But he always called me Bugman. So, Jordan, how about you? Did you have one growing up?
Yeah, it was Spanky. My dad called me
Spanky.
Spanky, yeah, because apparently as a kid I looked like Spanky from The Little Rascals, like the original like show, not the movie.
Did you have like the thing? Is that the one with the thing that sticks up?
That's
alfalfa.
Alfalfa, yeah.
Yeah, his buddy was Spanky. The little guy.
Spanky. Okay.
Spanky.
Spanky. Well, that's great.
Sure.
Jeff, what do you got?
I have had a couple. Where do we want to start here? The Big Cat. That was one. That was a football nickname I got. My one coach gave me that. Then
Big Cat.
Oh, my one uncle always called me Jeffrey Bodine growing up. That's another one. And I'm trying to think. Growing up, those are like probably the two biggest ones. Jeffrey Muttahead, that was another one.
Jeffrey what?
Muttahead.
What does that mean?
That was, I don't really know. I'm not 100% sure. My grandfather, he was Hungarian. It's probably something to do with that. Probably means like head or something.
Grandfather thought you were a kid.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, speaking of that, my grandpa used to call me and my siblings Dupas.
Oh, yeah.
Dupayash. Yeah, which means...
Oh.
I was like, oh, that's a sweet term of endearment. It sounds like that. And then my parents were like, yeah, it means... I'm like, oh, that's not so great.
Right in the
"Means
dupa.
you idiot. Grandpa hated you." Brian, what about you?
I was trying to think about that, but the first thing that came to my mind is that my father used to say, "Hey, Saurus, get over here."
All right.
So that's the first one that came to mind.
Aw.
Okay.
So...
Well, on that note, I want to turn this over to... All right, on that note, let's cut over to our impressions of Hundreds of Beavers. Even though we raw dogged it, we didn't know anything about this movie going into it. So how about this? Jordan, why did you pick this movie?
Wait, sorry, real quick. Did that question have anything to do with this movie that you asked us?
Nope.
Okay, all right.
Just
to clarify.
Just to get to
Just
know
want
your
to see
pals.
how you were doing. Yeah.
He's running out of movie-related questions to ask us. We already asked one twice.
I don't think I asked any movies. I don't think any of the Get to Know Your Pals are about movies. Oh, wait,
that's a lie.
They've all been.
Yeah.
No, there's shows. There's shows.
Or they've had something to do with the movie, right?
Related to media.
Maybe. Okay,
Well, how
I'm
about this?
branching out here. Second season here.
My nickname was Beaver. There you go.
It was?
No.
It is
Oh,
now.
okay.
It is now,
It
yeah.
is now. Busy Beaver.
So why'd you pick this movie?
So when I told my one sister that we're doing this, she recommended this movie, which I'd never seen it before, but she recommended it. She's like, "This would be great to do." And I was like, "All right, we'll give it a shot." So yeah, I've never seen this. You guys have never seen it. Is that correct?
Yes. Never even heard of it. Which sister, older or younger? You don't have to say a name.
Older sister, yeah.
Okay,
And
okay.
the way she explained it was that it's Charlie Chaplin meets Looney Tunes.
Charlie Chapped lips.
Chap lips. Charlie Chapstick meets Looney Tunes. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I could get down with that.
Yeah. No, I can see it.
Unlike Looney Tunes cartoons, it is an hour and a half long, as opposed to the 2.5 minutes that the usual cartoon is with Elmer Fudd and Did you guys ever actually
extended.
watch those? Like
What?
the
Cartoons?
Bugs Bunny cartoons?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I watched growing up.
So I think this is more like I think it's reminded me a lot of Roadrunner.
Wiley
Yeah, Wile E.
Coyote.
Coyote.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's what I guess I don't know if that's had anything to do with it, but I've recently watched those with my kids. And I'm like, wow, these are really weird and like way before their time, like really well done and stuff.
yeah, they-
way
they-
better than what was out then.
They
He
stopped
felt
putting.
uncomfortable.
I think they stopped putting them out because like there was too violent for kids.
Yeah, the Bugs
Right.
Bunny ones are. They're ridiculous, but
I think that I saw Looney Tunes when I was a kid that they actually had to cut out because there was like a gunshot to the face. They didn't want to show on Nickelodeon or
there's a
something.
lot of those.
Yeah.
Like just Elmer Fudd shoots the duck in the face, like Daffy Duck.
Oh yeah, Rabbit Season. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. All right, Jordan. Since we don't have an impressions because we never had anything, we didn't know anything about this movie.
They didn't even watch a trailer or anything like that before
No.
this.
A
No,
raw dog
nothing. Yeah. I had some like, okay, when it started up, I was like, what the hell is this? Because I had zero clue about what this was about. I didn't have the context that you just gave us, Jordan, that it was, Looney Tunes ish. So I was like, what on earth? And and then then I continued watching it because, we're doing this. So
Yeah, the intro scene is painted a picture.
It's gonna determine like whether or not you're gonna like sit down and watch the rest of this
Yes.
movie. I think.
Yeah. It's a very big indication of like what to expect. I think. With
Right.
the movie. Yeah.
Want to go through the movie then? Give us a recap.
Okay. Well, so we're assuming everyone's watched this, but just in case, it's a movie. It's mostly silent. There's no dialogue. There are sound effects. There is music with lyrics, which actually sung by people. But it's black and white. Apparently, this movie was well received when it came out in 2022. I never heard of it. So the very beginning of this movie starts out with a quote. It says, "Lord, grant me chastity, but not yet." So you're like, okay, what does this mean? But right when the quote ends, some jolly sounding song starts playing. It almost sounds like a drinking tune or like one of folklore, like by like Paul Bunyan kind of thing.
Yeah, like a classic folklore,
Yeah.
tall tale of Americana.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's about a guy named Gene. I think his name's pronounced. You never hear his name, so I don't know.
Gene Kayak.
Gene
Kayak.
Gene Kayak. He's our main protagonist. He's an Applejack maker. I had to look up what that meant because I was like, oh, he makes cereal, but no. It's Applejack was an actual liquor made way back when,
An early
kind of like
booze.
cider.
Oh.
So they just ferment apples.
And by apparently like by freezing or making the cider at a certain temperature, it makes Applejack, which is more higher alcohol concentration.
Yeah, you freeze the fermented cider and then you remove the ice and it increases the alcohol.
Oh, it takes out all the water out of it.
Yeah, so this was like apparently this is a big thing, but then it kind of got like pushed to the wayside by other spirits and alcohol.
Sounds like we're gonna have to try some Applejack.
We
Oh
should.
God.
You should if you watch this film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just drink the entire bottle so you pass out and not watch it.
Wow.
Oh wow!
The
There it is.
animation in the beginning is ridiculous. I think it's like it's made to look like I don't know, like it was made a long time ago. Like a child did it almost. Like the type of the drawing is like real. I don't know, what would you call that? Like
Crude.
yeah, but like not really because it's like they're animated in a very specific way where there's like very low frames of animation. But but then you have this guy like who's a live action guy just like in the background and
Right, it's a stylistic choice
Yeah.
for sure. It's like all animated around him except for the live action character that's on this like blue screen / like green screen type film.
the animation's really well done because given this has like such a style to it.
Yeah, and they only had a budget of like I think $100,000,
Yeah,
which I think is pretty impressive from like the way everything was done.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So it's basically just telling the story of who Gene is. He's an Applejack man, or he makes Applejack. And it shows like all these people coming around based on the song. It's showing all these people coming around all around from like coming to drink his booze. But you see that Gene lives somewhat of a decadent or self-indulgent lifestyle. So I think it's interesting with that quote by saying Augustine that said, Lord, grant me chastity. They took out a part that says incontinence. Incontinence means
Is that what you poop a lot?
well, no.
That's
mean,
incontinence.
It means self-restraint. So he clearly has, which I don't know why they would take that part out, but he has no self-restraint. So he's living a very indulgent lifestyle. He's just drinking a bunch. So I think
he's living pleasurably.
Yes. So there's a couple more of these quotes that come out through the movie. It's clearly painting a picture of what's going on with Gene, the character himself. At one point, you see him, winter is coming, which kind of becomes important later. One of his massive Applejack keg's legs get chewed up by a beaver, and it starts rolling down a hill. Gene somehow, I can't remember how Gene somehow gets on top of this. He's unable to stop it. So he's like rolling on top of it on top of the keg. His legs are moving.
He's doing the classic, like, walk on the top of the barrel down a hill kind of thing.
Or like the log kind of thing. Yeah. It's going down a hill, and it goes right into his apple orchard, blowing it up. Which is kind of funny because, like, why would it blow that up? So that's the opening scene. There's no, like, credits. There's no like movie title or anything like that. So then another quote comes up. It says, "It's always hard to see the purpose in wilderness wanderings until they are over." This is done by someone called John Bunyan. I had to look up who this was. He was a Puritan way back in the 1600s.
I thought that was Paul Bunyan.
No, that was like, wait, is that Paul Bunyan's? I was like, Paul Bunyan's brother? No,
is that the big ox guy, the blue ox guy?
Paulina Bunyan.
Yeah, that's the ox guy, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, Paul Bunyan. Yeah,
I'm not a historian.
And his ox babe.
Yeah, that's right.
But who was the train track guy then?
What?
That was Henry.
Oh, the guy the guy that laid down all the train tracks.
Yeah,
he had like big muscles.
He's like man versus machine kind of thing.
Yeah. That guy was
man
awesome.
versus food.
Yeah, that guy. The diners, drives, and drive-ins or something.
It was Guy Fieri that built the railroads in this country.
All right. What the hell is this movie about?
So then we see John wakes up covered in snow. It's clear like a significant amount of time has passed because he has a full-on beard. You don't know exactly how much time has passed. He sees that his business is destroyed, and he actually says something. He just says, as he's looking upon like his Acme sign being like kind of somewhat destroyed. So that was kind of funny because like it's that like attitude of like when something really bad happens, you're just like, okay, yeah, cool, this is great, awesome, yeah, really cool, guys. So that was kind of great. I guess you guys didn't. Cool. Moving on.
I didn't get that deep meaning.
No, there's a lot of like Simlish. Like if you played The Sims, that's how people talk in this movie. They're just like, no, same, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
He's trying to survive. He starts a fire. He tries to start a fire. There's a scene that's very cartoonish. He picks up a wet log and tries to wring it out, which I thought was kind of funny. It's like all wobbly and noodle-like.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of weird stuff like that. I forgot about that.
He starts a fire, but it keeps being blown out by changing winds.
Yeah.
And it seems like the winds are actually purposely like f***ing with them.
I was a little nervous after the intro scene about how this movie was going to play out. As soon as the slapstick stuff started coming in, with like you're saying, like the fire, him like seeing the sign and making comments, like there's like moments where he gets hurt terribly,
right?
But it just bounces right back, so you just know this is like a hyper reality kind of situation. If it wasn't
like the laws of physics don't apply.
This is Minecraft.
Oh, Minecraft.
Minecraft.
I say
Minecraft or Rust. This is the Rust movie, basically.
Oh, geez.
If you know what Rust is.
If you know what Rust is,
video game.
Yeah. Get a life.
Just kidding.
Turn this off.
But again, since this is a silent movie, like it's his body movements is what's like selling. That's the acting. It's not necessarily the dialogue. So it's kind of over the top. Physics don't seem to apply. So he's starting this fire. You see that like the wind keeps changing on him, and he can't keep it lit. At some point, he just passes out in the fire and wakes up on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he wakes up the next day. He's very hungry because he has no food with him. He sees a rabbit. He decides to try and capture it. So he goes through several different kinds of things he goes through trying to capture this rabbit. One of the ways he decides to try and capture it is he builds a rabbit snow woman.
Yep.
With some big old yabos on it.
I wrote that as a note.
To try and bait it.
That's a classic Bugs Bunny move.
Yeah. Also, I think it's funny that like his stomach was like rumbling so hard that you saw
shows,
it.
It shows like the actual stomach moving.
Yeah.
Like over the top.
Definitely.
Because again, there's no dialogue, so you have to kind of like do all these crazy other things like sell it.
It's like some of it reminds me of like Monty Python a little bit too.
I agree.
Just
Yeah.
like
I can see
the
that.
way it looks, yeah. I was gonna say, did we mention that the rabbit is just clearly like a person in a suit?
Yeah.
Like all the animals are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the bird.
You're right.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So all the animals are humanoid looking. It's just they look like people in like a crappy mascot suit.
Yeah, like a school production
Yeah.
of an animal
Yeah.
play or
And
something.
they're human sized. They're walking. They're bipedal. So he decides to try and make a bowling ball out of snow, and by rolling it down a hill, it would like catch, make more snow, get bigger and bigger to try and knock the rabbits out, or this rabbit out. Doesn't work. Another rabbit suddenly appears. That doesn't work. He tries to do it again. Doesn't work. He decides to make a massive carrot out of snow on top of a hill. That doesn't work either because he tries to push it off, and it just turns like
the way it rolls was
a
perfect.
180 degree.
Yeah.
I
turn.
told Jeff one of my favorite parts in this film, and it was the carrot thing, was when he made a carrot out of some type of tree.
Uses teeth to make it.
He uses teeth to make it, and they zoom in on him and a big smile, and his
teeth are missing.
His teeth are all jacked up. I laughed so hard. So that's just my humor to a T right there. But yeah.
Yeah, I watched this before Brian did, and I was like, "Did you watch it yet?" And he was like, "No," and I just knew. I was like, "You're gonna love this movie. This is your movie."
It is. It really is.
So so that doesn't work. The carrot on top of the hill thing doesn't work. Again, physics doesn't really apply because the carrot just does this 180 turn. He falls into a hole. I think he fell in a hole earlier at some point. I can't remember.
He falls into holes a lot.
Yeah, so that becomes a
He goes through a lot
theme.
of traps.
Yeah, it becomes a theme, becomes part of the story. He finds that he can travel between all the previous holes he fell through. Like there's like almost like game portal, like warp
Like
things.
a tunneling system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like waypoints that he can teleport.
Yeah. And upon exiting one of the holes, he comes across beavers who are gathering wood. During multiple attempts to capture and eat the beaver, he keeps coming across. He instead gets he keeps getting jumped by them.
Dude, yeah, they beat his.
But he also like when he sees one of them, like if does that like weird fade. They used to do these in the Looney Tunes cartoons. Where, like he'll see an animal and like he'll see what it looks like cooked.
Oh, you mean like the fade in of what it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
He envisions in
And
his
I think
mind.
one time it was a piece of pepperoni pizza, which wasn't even like a thing back then. Because it's very clearly like, not modern time, just like probably
Like
1800s, 1800s more likely. Yeah. It's during like the whole fur boom that was happening in North America.
Fur boom. That was your nickname, huh?
Oh, fur booms here, everybody. Get
Get
out.
over here, fur boom. Lay on the floor.
Oh, you gotta see this. Watch this, boys. Fur booms here.
So yeah, the beavers keep just like he keeps trying to attack them, eat them, but they just keep jumping him, and they like more and more keep coming. He keeps trying to attack more, and then they eventually just like jump him, beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, and they're always carrying like basically logs.
Yes, so you see they're starting to build something. They're building a dam, obviously, because they're beavers.
Progresses throughout the film. Like they're working on something in the background.
Yeah, and I like this kind of like a Naked Gun kind of thing. At the last time he sees some of these beavers, they're carrying their logs to like along the river, and you see beavers wearing vests and they're like directing them with like the like traffic or like air control people. I was like, that's just so stupid.
It's great. I love it.
I was gonna say there's so many callbacks to different elements too. Like once he figures out certain things, like we didn't mention like the bird yet, but
Yeah.
he has a whistle that he calls the bird, but it starts pecking at him like crazy.
Yes, yeah. And then he ends
so
up using that to his advantage later on.
Right, like he figures out, I can use this bird to like peck something. I forget what it was, but yeah, like there's just so many callbacks to different scenes in this movie that just keeps going back and forth.
It's like
crazy.
that thing where like he like gets attacked by like an icicle. He gets hit with an icicle. Then the next scene he gets hit by two icicles, or he uses that method. He steps sideways and the icicle shifts in air and like comes directly at
and it
him.
kind of hits him. That's why it's hilarious.
So it's like this thing. This is like the same thing over and over again throughout this movie. Is they keep on doing these things where like this bird, these icicles, like the environment, the beavers, the birds, the bunnies, the rabbits are always like giving him, like throwing him aside.
I think they're trying. I may be overthinking this based on what this movie is, but I think they might be showing the harshness of what it was to be one of these wilderness men back then. especially someone in that position who's not like raised that way or like knew how that stuff works. It's
definitely like part of the theme for sure. Yeah, like the harshness of the wilderness.
Well, yeah, it goes back to that quote that happens before this part of the movie starts. Like, you're going through the struggle in the wilderness. You don't realize it's making you a better person until after the fact, like in hindsight, which I think was what that quote meant. I don't know. I could be wrong.
He uses like the rabbit snowmen ladies with the big bazoomas.
Yes.
As like a fire breaks, it puts them around his fire so he can keep the wind from knocking around his fire.
Yes. Yeah.
Like little things like that where he's like, he learns a thing and then he uses it like in a video game.
Pretty much. Yep.
I was gonna say it's a cartoon version of a triumph of the human spirit. It's just like the most ridiculous version of survival.
It's like Hatchet the book but in a movie form.
With really goofies.
Because he keeps failing. He keeps failing, but he keeps trying.
Right, he doesn't stop.
Yeah,
goofy is the perfect word for this.
Goof troop, but Hatchet.
Goof troop.
Yeah.
So he barely survives the night again. The next morning, stumbles across a nest of bird eggs. And this is where, Chris, you mentioned the icicles. He's like trying to throw snow up at the nest, trying to knock the eggs out. Icicles keep falling near him. One even becomes like a heat-seeking icicle. And he keeps like trying to attack him or kill him, essentially. He becomes trapped by some of the icicles. A woodpecker attacks him as he's trying to climb a tree. I think he falls into jagger bushes. Is that the right term for those?
I don't know. They're like the spikies, the little spinies.
Yeah.
Prick bushes.
Yeah, prickle bushes.
So he keeps failing. And this is where the woodpecker comes in because he whistles. He does that whistle.
Dude, the whistle joke, after a while, I was like, please stop this. It was funny like the first like 5 times, and then it was like, okay.
I'll say this now. I do think this movie could have been way shorter.
Yeah, you know what? As much as I enjoyed this, dude, I love this kind of humor, but this movie was how long? Hour and
48
hour and
minutes. Hour and 48 minutes.
It's pretty long for the concept they're going for.
Yeah.
Because he basically does the same thing over and over again.
Right. It's that thing where it's that thing in comedy where you keep doing the same thing over and over. It's funny, but then it becomes not funny, and you keep doing it, and then it becomes funny again.
Right.
But I don't think that, for me, like, that didn't always happen in this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
They're just like, okay, I get it. I'm done. Let's move on. So he then turns his attention to some geese, which I only mention this because he tries throwing rocks at them, but he just like can barely throw the rocks, which I thought was kind of funny. Okay, so he attempts fishing. So he first tries the rabbits, then he tries the bird eggs, so now he's trying to do fishing. He tries several tactics like using his fingers or gnawing a tree branch down with his teeth to make a smaller fish. And I think that's the first time you see his teeth missing after he chews on the wood.
First of many times.
Yeah. At one point while fishing, he builds several snowmen, women, and even a dog to keep him company because you can tell he's starting to like lose his mind. He hasn't eaten. He's been out there for, who knows how long. He eventually just becomes depressed, and he looks like he's going to shoot himself with a finger gun.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, he's gonna kill himself with his finger gun. But instead, he just bites his finger instead, which causes it to bleed. So they do this a couple times later on, like this misdirect. He's like, you think he's gonna kill himself because he's like so desperate. He's like, I can't do this anymore. But it ends up being like this misdirection. Like he actually has an idea. So the whole thing was like, I'm gonna bite my finger so I can bleed, so I can lure the fish with my blood. Which I don't. Is that a thing people do with fishing?
With sharks, maybe. I don't know.
Well, he tried a few different lures with the fish, and they weren't working.
Yeah.
He also discovered fishing by pushing a rock off a mountain onto a rabbit. And he's like, oh wait, it pushed the rabbit through. So he's like,
he saw he was on a frozen lake when he did that. So he's able to capture not only that fish but multiple fish using his own blood. So at one point he becomes delusional. I don't know if it's because he has a lack of food or all the blood he lost, but he has all these fish on his fingers. And he kind of has a vision, and it looks like Santa because like there is some Christmas music playing. There's a guy in a sled who's being drawn by dogs, who again, these animals are human people in crappy costumes. But Christmas music is playing, and the guy kind of vanishes. But in the distance, he sees smoke coming up from like a tree line. He follows that smoke. He happens upon a trading post.
So this is about 20 minutes into the film at this point.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the entire film, except for the Beavers. Because it's just for the next hour, it's just going back and forth between this guy, this trading post guy.
Yep. And that's a video game aspect of it, because at the trading post, he sees above the merchant, he has this little like stand. There's only certain like 6 items. And it says what you need for each item. And then they just disappear and they never come back again.
It's beaver pelts, isn't it?
Yeah, once they're there's beaver pelts. One of them's like, we need one wolf pelt, 2 beaver pelt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then each time he goes back to the merchant, he's getting like an upgrade for a new item, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
And he's trying to impress the merchant's daughter, who is taking a liking to him.
Yes. He becomes smitten with her.
Smitten.
Yeah.
Smitten.
There you go. He also sees a fur trapper, who's in fact the guy who he saw earlier that you think he had this delusion of seeing. The father, who's a merchant, tries to get the fur trapper to marry his daughter, but he does so in a way like he presents the wedding ring to him. The fur trapper thinks the father's asking him to marry him.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of funny, because there is no dialogue, and they think they make that a point, like we're not using words. So it becomes this awkward situation. Like it's a meta thing. Like we can't use words. So there's a misunderstanding where the fur trapper thinks the dad is actually proposing to him. In reality, the dad just wants him to marry his daughter. The fur trapper's like, I'm out of here.
I mean, they even go as far as like, hey, he brings them all the beaver pelts, or all the beavers. He like gives them a giant sack of money with a money sign on it. He's like,
yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, that's why you're not using dialogue. You're just saying, you're like showing it.
Yeah. And the daughter's kept in like a pen with like a velvet rope, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Did you watch in the background the dogs that are just like of the sled? They're like doing like stretching their legs out and stuff because they're guys, like people.
Well, yeah, it's funny because there's times they're doing dog stuff, and there are other times they're just like doing human stuff, like playing cards.
Yeah,
like stretching like people. Yeah. Gene decides to sell his fish he caught, which I don't understand why he just didn't eat the fish. He keeps doing this like he can survive. For instance, if he ate this fish, he'd be fine. But he decides to sell them instead. He gets this massive coin in return.
The coin
was funny.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't pick it up.
Yeah.
Which has happened to me before.
So long.
In real life, he just like couldn't pick it off the counter. That's happened to me. But then he just eventually the merchant's like, all right, here's the coin. And Gene eventually just takes it and puts it back on the table after all that, like that. And he's just like, I'm going to buy this knife that you have. And he gets a knife. It's a super dinky little like Swiss Army pocket knife.
But it's like, no, it's not even bigger than your pinky. It's like so small.
No, yeah. It's super dinky. Yeah.
Dinky. Super dinky.
So again, there's this this misdirect where he gets the knife, kneels down in the snow, and it appears that he's about to seppuku himself.
Sudoku.
Seppuku?
Yeah, seppuku, thank you. Uh-huh. He like stabs himself in the stomach and he starts cutting across the side. And you're like, oh, he's going to try and kill himself again. But he's in fact just cutting his sweater up to make a trap.
Yeah, but he does it even like how samurai would have done it, right? Like he holds it out in front of him and like puts it into his stomach.
Very
and then, like,
ceremonial like.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea is like when you do that, you cut out your intestines and you just die.
I thought it was funny when he takes that knife and he's cutting the carrot. He's like, little bit at a time.
That's where the joke comes back again. Yeah, with the teeth.
Mm-hmm. He starts whittling a wooden carrot with his teeth yet again.
Yeah, and then that one gets the rabbit takes it, so he has to make another one, and he doesn't have the knife anymore.
So he just uses his teeth.
So he uses his teeth, and then they bring that joke back. Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, because he gave the knife to that native, right? The native took it and just picked his teeth with it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He traded him for something with it. I forget what.
I can't remember what it was.
Well, all this is going on. He's trying to trap rabbits, but he's like, the beavers are just in the background for the first half of this movie.
Laughing at him.
Yeah.
And he's constantly losing his clothes. Like he just keeps using his clothes to make traps and they keep failing. So he's like not doing very well. So one of the rabbits fails to capture, flees going into one of the holes. This gives Gene the idea to map out the holes because he's fallen in a few of these. He uses bird poop as ink to write on some bark. So he maps out all these holes. He decides to cover 3 of the 4 holes the rabbits use and sets a trap at the 4th. He's able to successfully capture a rabbit, but unfortunately, a local raccoon eats the rabbit before he can get to it. So the raccoons are watching him as it's going on in a tree. They're like laughing at him. They're hoping he's going to die. Because there's instances where he keeps looking like he's going to die on various things.
Right. Yeah. Like there's like this like bit down tree spike behind his head. And
this keeps happening several more times. In a final attempt, Gene accidentally captures a raccoon instead of a rabbit. The raccoons. Oh, and you're right. The raccoon steals Gene's little knife. So I guess Gene got it back.
I don't remember. I don't even think he lost it when he did it with his teeth. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Well, I know the native took it and like picked his teeth with it. So I guess the native gave it back. So yeah, the raccoon's upside down. Gene's like, I'm gonna comes at him with the little knife, and the raccoon just takes it, takes it from him, and is like swinging at him. But there's a foot from the deceased rabbit that they assume Gene just clubs to death the beaver with this rabbit foot. So lucky rabbit's foot. So at this point, Gene is completely naked because he's exhausted all the clothes he's been wearing to make these traps. He arrives back at the outpost. He shows the merchant his raccoon, who then allows Gene behind the velvet rope to his daughter. But when Gene slings the raccoon down, the dad sees that Gene is buck naked. And this causes a whole like silly scene of like the dad chasing Gene around like very Looney Tunes style. He then covers himself with some snow around his junk. Then there's a scene where they play this angelic like orchestra type music because you could tell like again Gene's very smitten with this woman, but she's like mutilating or like not mutilating, but
they're making light of the fact that she's like a trapper and has to gut these animals.
Yeah. She's skinning the raccoon, breaking its limbs and all this stuff.
The best part is though that the guts are like packing peanuts.
Stuffing.
Yeah,
packing peanuts. Yeah.
They just put X's over the eyes of any like
the
dead
deaths.
animal.
The animal deaths had me laughing just because they're so abrupt. Like poof. It's just they're great. Worth watching. I would say alone for that.
I think it's the best part of the movie is the way he eventually kills some of these animals later on
because it's like a Wile E. Coyote thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very.
My absolute favorite part, and I know I'm skipping ahead. My absolute favorite part of this whole movie is the detective Beavers when they
Sherlock
show
Holmes
up.
and Dr. Watson, man.
Oh my god! And the way it cuts too is so funny because it like cuts in the middle of like the song, like right as they're like. It's always a hard cut for every scene with them, and I'm like, please keep bringing these guys back.
Well, whenever he finally gets that raccoon, she makes him a clothing, right?
Clothing,
and
yeah,
then they have like a lake title card type of thing where they introduce him and the girl.
Well, it's the exact same thing. It's because it's a whole other like opening to the movie.
And that's a half hour in.
Yeah, the title doesn't even show up. Yeah.
Yeah, it puts it finally says who the actors are in the movie, what their characters' names are, and they actually like kind of rather than call him Gene the Applejack Maker, he's called Gene the Trapper all of a sudden. And you show him like kind of like happy and dancing around until he just falls in a pit. Who was laid out by the trapper. He breaks his leg down there. There's a dead beaver down there with him. But the trapper finds him, saves him.
It's the Santa Trapper.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Santa Trapper comes upon him.
Friends.
Yeah, the Santa Trapper. Yeah. So he takes, the trapper takes Gene with him and they go on this like whole journey. Gene's with him the whole time, watching and learning how the trapper's trapping all these animals. Different methods of trapping animals work for different animals. But throughout their whole journey at night, the trapper's dogs keep being taken, like one at a time. But I think it's kind of funny because when they're out at the fire, you see the dogs playing poker. There's like, I think, a nod to that stupid painting.
Yep. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah, they all keep disappearing at night, but they keep trekking on. And again, Gene's learning how this trapper works. So he's kind of picking up on some of this stuff until December 31st, which I thought was kind of weird. They're like, this is the date. This is the first time they actually gave a date. It was December 31st. One dog is left and the dog comes in the middle of the night, takes the dog. Gene gets drunk. Yeah, sorry. The wolves come and take the last dog. Gene decides to get drunk. He just starts like drinking from the triple X jug, which I thought was funny because that's what they always used for like alcohol. But not only that, they come after Gene and the Trapper. The Trapper
And then
puts
a
a good
fight.
fight. Yeah, puts a good fight. He just beats the crap out of all these wolves, and then more wolves show up. So Trapper's like, hey, get out of here to Gene. So they climb up a tree. And I think the Trapper ultimately dies, right? I assume so.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a really cool shot though. When they were climbing up that tree.
And the Trapper's like, here, take this. It's the map of the mapper. It's a map of the Trapper's traps.
Yeah, he sees the Trapper's like feet in the morning, like his like snow trail, and he finds him dead. He has like X's on his eyes.
Right. And the quote before all that says, no man ever was glorious without being laborious, by Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm assuming, saying you got to put the work in to be great. Which sets this whole thing up because Gene's now alone. He has the Trapper's map, but can't really understand it.
We also get the gag again where he chews like a crucifix, like with Jesus on it as like the tombstone head, and he like spits out blood as he does it because he did it with his
super
teeth.
intricate. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. He keeps vomiting up for a little while after this, spewing up blood. So yeah, he's following the tracks of the dogs and the wolves, which take him to a cave. He flees and decides to make a new map since he can't understand the original that the Trapper gave him. He uses his new novice knowledge of trapping and begins setting up traps, although clumsily, while also mapping out the land. So he's getting to lay the land and kind of learning how to trap stuff.
So I think this is where they establish like he's going to be kind of going against these two forces,
Yes.
like
yes.
the coyote or the wolves, and then the beavers.
His ultimate goal of the Beavers.
So all the while he's doing this stuff, he realizes the beavers, he keeps coming across the beavers building like this massive, insanely big dam, almost like a castle looking kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like ominous, like something's up.
Fortress.
Yeah. And he keeps coming across these odd geometrical shapes in the snow, which he doesn't really understand. During this whole time, he keeps going back to the outpost and getting new supplies. The first time he goes back, he tells the merchant that the Trapper has died. There's a little scene about that. He comes across the native again, and he shows him his horse. And the horse is clearly, just two guys in a suit. Suit.
This was weird.
And underneath the horse head is just the face of the character.
You definitely see them, yeah.
Playing the horse, and he's just dead-faced the whole time. So that was kind of funny.
A little in-joke to all the costumes that these actors had to wear for animals.
Gene discovers one of his traps has been dragged away. Following trail, he sees that a beaver had taken it and fallen off a cliff, thus indirectly rewarding his first beaver. They start doing like that. I don't know if they just started doing it now, but they're doing like a counter. They start doing this counter on the screen where like when he kills something for the first time.
That's not until the guy gives him the ultimatum, like what he needs to do.
So at this point, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, in beaver form, show up, and they're investigating all the murder scenes of their fellow beavers.
It's so funny.
So there's very easily could have been a montage, I think.
His whole movie? Yeah, you're right.
with the way he's using what he's learned from the Trapper about killing beavers and trapping them. Not only just beavers, but other animals like skunks, raccoons, and rabbits. But he's kind of putting his own twist on them. And then this whole time, the Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson Beaver are going around investigating these murder scenes of their fellow beavers. Also during this time, Gene starts developing kind of a relationship with the merchant's daughter, as well as he's still trading goods and getting better supplies.
He also goes back and forth with this like swing with like this bullseye thing on the ground behind it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And it's like, I guess for the beavers crap, they shoot their crap out of this bullseye like thing. And it keeps going back to it. And eventually he uses it for something, but it's like the most like out of left field thing of like the entire like world he's following around in. Yeah, and you keep like seeing like the map he's plotting and like him where he's going next, and it's like okay, I'm going here. It's his trap line, like where he for beavers.
He's also trying to get a lay of the land, like figured like this is where the ice is, this is where this hole is, this is where the wolf cave is, which he eventually goes to. He actually goes inside and realizes that that's where all the or dead beavers are that his trapper friend had gathered. They're in this massive sack.
It's like a big payday if he can get him out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. In one of the instances where he goes in, he nearly escapes, climbs up a tree, sneezes while Wolf is, coming after him. His snot freezes and forms like this icicle. And due to his other instances with icicles, he decides to break it off his nose and I think he breaks it off and just falls off and kills the wolf. So he gets his first wolf pelt because of this, which they do a counter for that. So I do think it's funny. At one point when Jean's with the merchant's daughter, she, behind her father's back, she shows Jean her ankle, which back then, you're like, oh, I saw a woman's ankle, her skin. And then immediately she starts pole dancing and strips.
Yeah. Like just takes it up.
Just total.
He's just standing there in awe,
yeah,
looking back at the father.
0 to 60.
Yeah, the one thing I did laugh about was he had this snowman fishing for him. And he kept on going back to do it.
The arm would raise up whenever he caught a fish. He just waved at the snowman yeah, I see it. I'm coming. So eventually we see that the only way the merchant will allow his daughter to be married is if Jean brings him hundreds of dead beavers. The exact number is not given at the time. This is all done through, because a lot of times in old silent movies, they would show talking, but then they would put the dialogue, like a brief bit of dialogue on the screen. So this is the first time they do this. So he's saying you have to get hundreds of beavers. They don't say specific amount of beavers, like the exact number, but just saying hundreds of beavers he has to collect.
Yeah, and basically that's the movie title right there. That's the first time we saw it.
The first time you see the movie title is 1 hour and 15 minutes in. It's the first time you see it, which is ridiculous. So Gene goes on to capture as many beavers as he can. As he's doing this, Sherlock Holmes and the Watson beavers follow and watch. They then go to report their findings to other beavers in their master dam, and you see that at this point the dam is huge. It's like a fortress. Gene eventually has the knowledge to lure all the beavers that he can into the wolves' den, trapping and killing all of them. He then brings those, as well as Trapper's satchel, which he gets back, to the merchant. The number, they show a counter of the number of all the beavers he has. It goes up to 222 before it shuts off, or they don't show it again. So he arrives oh, great, I'm at the merchant. I could buy this wedding ring. I could propose to the girl. But he discovers that is not the actual merchant's outpost, but rather a trap set by Sherlock Holmes and Watson.
Yeah, it was a decoy.
Yeah, the outpost just falls flat. It's like a flat
cutout. It was a cardboard cutout, yeah.
Which they just push over on him, knocking him out. Which is classic Looney Tunes.
Classic Looney Tunes.
The father, the merchant guy that keeps on spitting and it never goes into
spittoon.
Oh, he always misses. Yeah,
I'm like, okay, we got it. All right, it's hilarious. All right.
There's a payoff for that at the end, but I didn't bother bringing it up because it bothered me the whole time they kept doing that.
That should bother you.
Yeah.
I was bothered by it.
Disturbed.
Gene wakes up, discovers large sack of beavers was taken away. And he realizes by seeing a 4-leaf clover in the snow, it's now March. But then he's knocked out again by another large cutout, which is a cutout of a cutout. So Gene, with the help of his woodpecker friend, kills the beaver and uses skin as a disguise to enter the beaver's massive dam. While sneaking around inside, Gene finds a keg of Applejack.
Yep.
He's torn by the dilemma of succumbing to his urges to drink or go after the sack of beavers.
So here I wrote a note and I said, at the end of the day, this movie is really about overcoming alcoholism.
Well, it goes back to that first quote by St. Augustine. It's please help me the ability to get over this, but not yet. So it's he wants to be a good person, but he's not ready to be a good person yet. And this is the point where he's I'm going to be a good person.
Yeah, he's making kissy faces at the alcohol and stuff too.
And he actually he put his mouth on the tap, and you see a random hand come off the side, smack his hand away. So that was pretty good.
There's one instance in here where he's collecting beavers when he's really murdering these things. he does something with it. There's like a tree that fell down and was supposed to fall on a beaver, and it missed the beaver, or missed 2 beavers, and then he like comes down and like one beaver falls over the log, gets up, pushes him back over the log. It's like this ridiculous thing of like almost like an Abbott and Costello like bit.
Yeah.
Where like one beaver does this, the other beaver gets up, falls over the other beaver, and then he falls over. And it's actually the one time I laughed out loud. I was like, oh my God. Because it was just when the beaver got up and pushed him over the log after he thought the beaver was dead was just hilarious.
I had to go on a website to find the number of beavers and how they all died. Because I couldn't keep track. I was like,
The count.
yes, he used a turbine, makeshift turbine kind of thing at one point.
Yeah, he's making all these different traps and stuff that spin and all kind of different ways.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the funnier part of the movies. But again, I think it goes on like way too long.
Like when he pulls the beaver's neck all the way out, it's like real long, and then he's in the cave with the beaver. And his first couple beavers, he's like eating with them.
And yeah, that's when like the Sherlock Holmes and the Watson one are just like, why is this beaver's neck? Like they can see the outline of the snow.
Yeah.
Like clearly the beaver's neck was stretched
figure
out.
it out. Yeah.
Then there's this big chase scene inside of the dam, which was like
Yes.
Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones, like
They're on the water. He's on the water chutes.
Yeah.
Trying to avoid capture because again he is able to keep himself from drinking the Applejack. He's like, I have a mission. I have to collect this beaver to get the ultimate beaver.
There it is.
There's the tagline, ladies and gentlemen.
There.
So yeah, but Jeff, like you said, it's kind of like Indiana Jones, kind of like he's going on these chutes, water chutes, hopping from log to log, being chased. Police beavers are after him all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I forget how, but he racks his nuts on something, and he just gets caught by the police beavers.
It reminded me a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but it did remind me of like Charlie Chaplin, like
oh yeah,
Modern Times, when he like went through the machine. I don't know if you guys ever saw that old clip where he like is laying flat and he's literally going through the gears of a machine, like
okay, I've seen that. Yeah,
yes,
squirming through it. But a lot of the shots in the Beaver Dam reminded me of that kind of stuff, like that physical 1920s, 30s comedy.
Well, how do you like how he gets into the beaver dam when he dresses up? He takes the beaver pelt and he puts it on. It's all like jacked up. And he's just like, the tongue's hanging out. And he's like,
he just goes through the ice,
shambling in there. Yeah. And the other beavers are watching him from the dam. Like, look at this guy.
So he gets caught. And this is the weird, like, I thought it was the silliest part of the whole movie. He goes on trial.
Yes.
Right?
One of the best parts.
He comes to in a courtroom filled with beavers. He even has his own defense attorney beaver.
The public defender beaver had to be.
Yeah.
The prosecutor beaver uses Gene as an example to show the plight the beavers have endured due to the massive fur trade industry, because this is a legit thing that was going on. But the way it talks, it sounds like an Ewok. And you can tell Gene's like, I don't know what he's saying. What is he saying? So he leans over to his defense beaver, and the beaver like basically just says the same thing in the beaver talk. And he's like, I still don't know what you're saying to me. And the beavers have like a slideshow showing all this crazy stuff. Wait,
did you just mention this movie was commentary on the beaver, on the fur trade industry?
I think so, yeah. Because so I don't know if you remember, like when they're showing, the prosecutor's showing, starts his case or whatever. They show how all these beavers are dying, and they show this little arrow go across New England to England because the beaver trade was a big thing. Like people were like, this is huge in Canada. Yeah.
Beaver trade.
No, primarily beavers. Primarily beavers was a huge thing in North America during this time. So they're kind of
thirsting for beaver.
They're alluding to that, like they're making him like his scapegoat. Like look what has been happening to our beaver people. This is why this guy's part of this. We got it, like, so that's like building a case against him kind of thing. So I thought was interesting. I'm not saying the directors or writers are doing the commentary, but the beavers were using this as a commentary.
Some deep type stuff, yeah.
To show their plight. So I was like, all right, that's interesting. Anyways. All right, yeah. Anyways, so Holmes and Watson come up and show their evidence against Gene. They're showing pictures of all the murder scene photos they took, like the elongated beaver neck.
And you can see his like defense attorney is like wiping his brow with like a
he's real nervous.
He's sweating.
He's sweating. He looked at at one point he looks at a piece of paper and then turns it upside down because he can't read apparently. He falls over as it's his turn to make his
his
statement.
tone was completely amazing. It was just like, just confused.
Yeah. He fails to save Gene, so they decide to execute him. He's strapped to a table, about to be sawed in half by a bandsaw or something like that. It's revealed that the Beavers want to turn Gene into a coat as a payback. But before he's cut, he's able to free his hand, and they show this whole scene of him trying to figure out math on how to free his hand, which I thought was kind of interesting. He's able to free his hand. Trap. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Yo, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, this is how tension works.
Yes. This big brawl breaks out between Gene and the Beavers.
I love that way. I love that he gets out of this trap, though. He's still clearly tied down, other than his one hand, and all the Beavers immediately give up. They're like, oh man.
They back off and they're like, yo, come on.
Yeah, the police Beavers show up, and then, but what I think is the best part is Gene just kind of goes berserk and just grabs a beaver and rips its head off.
He kicks that one into the fire.
Yeah.
He throws the head against the wall.
He choke slams the one off the thing.
Yeah. Well, they keep showing the thing where he throws the beaver against the wall, then he gets thrown against the wall.
Yeah.
And clearly it's dummies.
Yeah.
Because they're all
he's choke slamming them and they're just dummies. Yeah, they're so funny. Yeah. The bar fight scene, it's so good.
Yeah. The best way he kills somebody, he just takes one of the beavers by the throat, rips its head off. It's a human skeleton head.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just skins it. And the rest is just a human skeleton, which is fitting because clearly these are humans playing these, but
as an actor, yeah.
Yeah. So by seeing that, the rest of the beavers are freaked out. So he runs away. He looks out one of the windows in the dam, sees a memorial service being held for all the dead beavers that he killed, and that were part of his massive sack he has. Well, satchel.
He's chasing this gigantic sack of beavers.
Yes, because he needs those pelts
skins,
for the yeah. So after seeing that, he's like, I have to go get this memorial service to grab this satchel of dead beavers.
And on his way out, he's seeing the most all these advanced civilization of beavers. Yes. He's oh wait, the beavers, they're making a rocket ship.
Yeah,
there's scientists doing testing.
Out of one of his kegs, right? They're trying to make a rocket ship.
Yep.
So he sees all the beavers, scientists conducting experiments, which alludes back to the weird things he was seeing in the snow, the weird geographical shapes he was seeing in the snow. These are them conducting these experiments. They have one of his kegs that they're turning into a rocket or a missile. During a fight between Gene and Beaver, the rocket is accidentally launched and keeps hitting against the dam, causing a chain reaction, destroying it. Gene is then chased by hundreds of beavers across the river along various goofy shaped sheets of ice. One's in the shape of a ship, a train. Yeah.
Isn't one like a Titanic thing though? It's
yeah.
It hits an iceberg.
Gene arrives at the memorial service atop a snowy hill where his sack of beavers it sits. He pushes it down and it rolls, collecting snow along the way. So it's building up mass. He finds what are those things? Valet for sleds. Jumps on one of those, where a bunch of other beavers jump on the other ones, chasing after him. The sound effects make it sound like the speeder noise from Star Wars. Did you guys pick up on that at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Clearly those aren't sleds making those noises. It's airplanes or some mechanical
right,
thing.
Yeah.
Gene passes the native who attempts to follow on his horse, but is killed by a massive beaver made of smaller beavers. They perform this mech beaver.
It's like a Megazord beaver.
You're right.
A kaiju beaver.
Yeah.
The Native American guy the entire time is him and his horse are going through this subplot thing where at one point he's fixing the horse underneath it like a car mechanic trying to fix it.
Yeah. And you hear the noises too mechanics.
Yeah, and so at this point now he's I guess he was going to help Gene or something at some point, but he's on his way, and then his horse gets killed and he gets real mad, rips off his clothes like some giant bodybuilder, and takes down the missile.
Yeah, exactly. So at some point there's a state Gene is flung up onto the rolling snowball. So he's doing the whole thing he did at the beginning of the movie where he's on top of the keg. Chris, what'd you call it? Log He says like log running or something like that.
The log roll?
Log running.
Log roll, yeah, log running. So he's doing this again.
He was log jamming.
The giant beaver mech thing or kaiju is in hot pursuit. And Chris, like you said, this is where the native is able to lasso the rocket. And he throws it back, or attempts to throw it back at the massive beaver thing, but misses. It lands and goes off like a nuke, killing all the beavers.
Also, like the giant kaiju beaver is like the most green screen. You can tell it's a person.
Well, yeah.
But it's a person wearing like a green screen, but it's like the beavers are, it's not like one giant beaver. It's like beavers standing on top of each other's heads, like a pyramid.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's the most insane thing that you can see the green screen and stuff. It doesn't look like natural at all. But it goes back to this movie. It goes back to how this movie,
the budget for this film was only $150,000.
I thought everything looked awesome, and with how goofy it was, it fit. Everything fit perfectly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's this ramp in this movie where they're like they're one-upping themselves each scene.
Yeah, definitely. I'm assuming that like the native died right there because they never showed him again.
Well, he just, I mean, when he
He's
swings
right
that
there.
rocket,
He got nuked.
it bounced off the Beaver Megazord and then into the nuke. So we don't.
He had his purpose, you know.
He might be alive. We don't know.
Nah, he's dead.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Meanwhile, Gene is atop a massive ball of snow barreling toward the merchant and his daughter's outpost. Unlike previously when Gene couldn't stop the Applejack kick from rolling, Gene is able to stop this ball just in time before it takes out the outpost.
Yeah, he's having like flashbacks to basically the beginning of the movie and how he ended up here in the first place.
Doing so, he's able to deliver hundreds of beavers to the merchant, winning his daughter's hand in marriage. And right there, when they're like in loving embrace, the dad kisses Gene.
Yep.
And there's like another spittoon thing, I think, right there, right?
That might be the payoff there.
Yeah, the spit.
Well, also like the beavers, whenever that bomb goes off, though, going back to that real quick, it shows a shot of the beaver dam filling up the lake behind it and it says Green Bay on it.
Making Green Bay. I don't want to talk about it because I don't like Green Bay.
But it's like it like puts like this like weird like I don't know, it's like a localization type of thing in the movie where like all of a sudden like, oh, they're in Green Bay and that's how Green Bay was made. It's like they're assuming that.
Like a local legend kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
The legend of how Green Bay was made.
Dumb beavers.
Beaver explosion.
Jordan, thank you for taking us through that roller coaster of emotion that is Hundreds of Beavers. And now I want to hear your feedback from this movie, everybody here. How about we start with Brian? Brian, how did you feel about Hundreds of Beavers?
So when I started this movie, because of that opening number, like I said earlier, I didn't know what to think because like you said, it's low budget, but as you watch the movie, they did a good enough job. Like they did a great job of just using their resources to make like this visual Looney Tunes thing happening in this film. Like I personally I love Looney Tunes. I love cartoon humor and violence, especially when it's super weird like this movie is. I do think it ran a little too long, but I am a big fan of like slapstick, like Three Stooges, like Charlie Chaplin, even a newer movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Kung Fu Hustle from a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
Really reminded me of a lot of slapstick stuff that this movie was doing. That movie also was doing like, different plot things. It wasn't all focused on like Looney Tunes type stuff, but it reminded me a lot of like what they were trying to do here with the humor. And again, like you said, I think it ran a little too long, but for what they were going for, it made me laugh a lot. So I enjoyed it. I was surprisingly enjoying it.
Jeff, what about you? What do you have to say about Hundreds of Beavers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much, I think, in the same boat as Brian. I wasn't sure what to expect. And then once I started watching it, I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool that a movie like this was also made in, 2022 or whatever. When was this made?
2022.
Okay. It's like, it's cool that people are still doing stuff like this. And I think that alone was like, made me enjoy it more because, how many movies come out nowadays that have like basically like Three Stooges level comedy going on in it. I can't really think of any in recent years that, are like mainstream. So, and again, I'd never heard of this one, and I don't know. I also enjoyed it for what it was. I do definitely think it was a little long, but I would say, if anyone listened to this and they haven't watched it, I think I don't know. I don't want to sound mean, but it's almost like a disservice to listen to this before watching it, because watching it, like, there's no way we could do it justice with talking
It's a visual
about
movie.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's no voices.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like, Tom and Jerry type of movie. Like, it's something. So I think it's special to be able to tell a story that doesn't need language too, which is cool.
Yeah, it's very storyboarded. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we left out with all the different ways he levels up and murders beavers.
Well, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's so many more details to it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go next, and Jordan, you can go last since it was your choice. I think this movie was way too long. I get what they were doing, but I got that in the first 10 minutes, and I was bored of it. I did like the stuff they came up with for like how he murdered the beavers, and that whole like the act. I guess maybe the acting was the one thing I actually liked, was the way they acted everything out.
The one thing.
Yeah, the story did not. I wasn't interested in the story. I couldn't care less how this guy got beavers. But it was basically like a video game, as we've said many times. But it was so like, I don't know. It was like so, I don't know, expected. I don't know. It's like, okay, he kills one beaver, he kills two beavers, he kills one beaver this way, he kills this evil, these wolves this way. Like, it's just so formulaic. Maybe I don't know if that's the right word, of like how he goes through this. It's like very planned out route of how he got there. Like, he was obviously always adding to his collection. So, like, he killed 5. That means he has to kill 10. He has to kill 20. And he has to get this whole giant barrel of beavers. And the beavers are going to make a giant, kaiju beaver. And there's going to be a rocket. And so it's like it had to keep on upping itself every time, which I thought was an interesting idea. I don't know. I think if it was like if it was half as long, it'd been way more interesting to me. But it wasn't my choice, so that makes sense.
Wow.
Wow. Also, I just the silent movie type thing they were going for just doesn't interest me. I don't have like nostalgia for that type of stuff. The cartoon thing I do, but those cartoons are like 3 minutes each, or like 10 minutes at the max. So that's how
Chris.
I feel.
Chris doesn't like movies. We get it.
Just keep dumping on it, Chris.
Mr. Thumbs Down over here.
Mr. My Way of the Highway.
Mr. Thumbs.
Mr. Down Thumbs. All right, Jordan, what do you have to say about Hundreds of Beavers?
I don't know how to follow that, Chris. Jesus. No, I said this at the very beginning. You guys have all said the same thing. I think it is a bit too long. Visually, I think it's an awesome movie. Like, I think, especially what they did with the budget they had. Again, us talking about this movie doesn't do it justice, because the way it is black and white. Yes, I know that might deter some people, but the fact that they're using like these silly, terrible looking costumes for animals, and they're bipedal, I think plays into it. But also like what they were able to do, like with certain scenes, like that whole chase through the dam, like a lot of that's just, I know it's green screen, but a lot of that is like the cartooniness of it, I think is great. The Looney Tunes aspect of it, I think, is great. The slapstick aspect of it is great. It reminds me of like not just Charlie Chaplin, but like Naked Gun, or like the poster of this. I don't know if you guys saw the poster of this.
Yeah,
it looks very, very National Lampoons.
It does. Yep.
Yeah, it does.
And I think it does very well fit into like what this movie did. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that until we want to talk about what we give it.
All right, well then on that, let's give it our rating. Let's give it a thumbs up or thumbs down for Hundreds of Beavers. Brian, you go first.
Even though it was too long, I'm going to give it a thumbs up. It was a surprise viewing on my part. I really enjoyed it.
Jeff, what about you?
I'm also going to give it the old thumbarooski up. I think, it was really funny, and sure, yeah, it was maybe a little too long, but that's just not that big of a deal for me. Most of it had me laughing and being like, what the heck am I watching? This is awesome. And all of like the callbacks to all the old stuff was cool. And like I said earlier, the fact that a movie like this is still being made today, I think is something special. So thumbs up from old Jeff.
For me, I would say that if it was half as long and, I would give I'm not going to tell anybody to go watch this. I'm not going to suggest this to anybody. I didn't think it was that great. I get the idea what they were going for, but for me, it wasn't interesting. It got boring halfway through. I don't think I paid attention to the last half except when they were running through the Beaver Dam. Because in the middle, it gets lost. There's a lot of stuff in the middle I just didn't enjoy or didn't think was very funny. There was some good funny parts, though, like the pooping thing with the big bullseye, how he used that. Some of the ways he killed the things and whenever the bodies, like there's one part where the beaver picks him up and like flips him around and slams him off like a pile of sticks. It was really funny because it's obviously they cut it right when he gets picked up into like this like dummy. But I would not suggest. I don't think I'll ever watch this again. I don't suggest anybody else should, but that's just me. So I give it a thumbs down. Jordan, what about you?
Vanessa, you hear that? Chris hates you.
Oh,
that's mean.
I give it a thumbs up. I enjoyed it. I think my sister was spot on with the whole Charlie Chaplin silent movie with Looney Tunes. That piqued my interest. So that's why I wanted to do this one. I know we're beating this part of it to death. I think it is too long, but overall, I did enjoy the humor, especially like the whole part where he's just killing beavers in various crazy Looney Tunes Acme-esque ways. I thought it was really funny. There's even like a nod to, I think, a Robert Redford scene, which in a movie I've never even seen before. There's like gif of like Robert Redford who does like.
Oh, you talking about the nod thing?
Yes.
Yeah, they totally referenced that.
Yeah, and I was like, "Wow, that's great." I don't know, I'd never seen that movie.
Gentle Ben, or I might be totally wrong on that. But
I mean, that makes sense because he looks like he's in the wilderness, like he would be something to do with a bear. But like, I was like, "Holy crap, that's great!" Just I don't know, just so small, silly, dumb, fun humor in this, which I think is what makes me give it a thumbs up. And visually, it's great.
all things Chris hates: fun, humor,
visuals.
All right, well, you heard it here. 3 pals out of 4 for hundreds of beavers. Next week, Jeff is up. What are we watching next week, Jeff?
So real quick, before I get into that, I would just like to make a note that Chris so far this season is the only person to thumbs down everything we've watched so far.
Even my own movie?
Hellboy.
This season.
This season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of Hellboy,
this is only the 3rd episode.
I'm just saying, you got 3 thumbs downs already. All right. But yeah, no. So my pick for next week is a movie that I don't honestly not sure how I found out about it, but I'm happy I did. I like this movie a lot. I thought it was really cool, and I thought it was really under the radar. It's called The Spine of Night, and it's a rotoscoped animated film. And if you're not familiar with what rotoscoping is, look it up or listen to next week's episode.
Just figure it out.
I'll explain it. I'll explain it then, you dummy. But
we're not doing it.
But yeah. So that's next week. It's the first animated cartoon movie of Watch Pals. So look forward to that. It's definitely not for kids, though. I'll say that.
Yeah, right off the bat.
Yeah, but a lot of famous people. There's like Patton Oswalt, Lucy Lawless. That guy from Pittsburgh. I can't say his name right. He like plays Dungeons and Dragons. He's super ripped.
Joe
Magnilello.
Yeah, Magnilello. There's a lot of like famous people that voice people in it though.
Caramello.
Oh, you mean what's that? What's the stripper movie in?
Caramello.
Was he in a
Joey
Magic Mike.
Caramello.
He's in
Was
Magic
he?
Mike.
I never saw it, so Chris is gonna put Magic Mike on the list now. I could see his face.
XXL.
That'll be the one movie he gives a thumbs up to.
Yeah.
Like, thumbs way up. Thumbs really hard up. Hard up thumbs.
Hard up thumbs.
The hardest
Jesus
thumb I
Christ.
can. Anyway,
This thumb's got a vein in it.
so next week we're watching Spine of Night. I'd never heard of it, so I'll be raw dog on that one. So please leave a comment on your podcast platform of choice. Please connect with us on social media. All those links will be found below in the show notes. If you have questions or a suggestion for a future movie, please send us an email at watchpals.show@gmail.com. All those links can be found on the website at watchpals.show as well. And we would like to thank Ben Miller for the logo art and Jeff for the logo design. And you can find Ben at his Instagram, which is also listed below. So next time we'll watch Spine of Night. Thank you everyone again for tuning in. And thank you, Jeff, for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brian, for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Jordan, thank you for being here and for taking us through the movie today.
Thank you, Skid Mark.
Oh, wow. Thank your sister, Jordan, for picking this one.
Thank you, sister, for me.
And thank her for ruining my Sunday night.
Wow.
Also,
Mark.
thank all you out there in Watchland. Until next time, please set your watches for the next episode of Watch Pals. Good night.